Did you know that when Israel asks Meta to remove content from Instagram and Facebook, the company often does? And that top decision makers at Meta have ties to Israel and Israeli causes?
Anyone who is using big tech platforms is using platforms that's influenced by Israeli ideology.
Paul Bigger from Tech for Palestine spoke to me about this during our investigation into Meta's suppression and censorship of Palestine content.
We've seen a number of Meta policies, especially on Instagram, around suppression. They deliberately are making these policies.
Let's get into it.
One of the most senior people at Meta is a man called Guy Rosen.
Rosen is Meta's chief information security officer. He once served in the Israeli military's Unit 8200, the secretive cyber unit infamous for spying on Palestinians under occupation. Rosen then went on to help create Facebook's content moderation tools.
Someone who was in the Israeli army is deciding whether content about Palestine is allowed to be shown to people. It's deeply disturbing.
We analyzed LinkedIn data and found dozens of other current Meta workers who once served in Unit 8200. Other Meta leaders have ties to the Israeli government, like Jordana Cutler, the company's public policy director for Israel and the Jewish diaspora, a position that doesn't have a Palestinian counterpart, by the way. Cutler previously served as an advisor to Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and was chief of staff for the Israeli embassy in Washington, D.C. She now works at Meta.
Inside the company, part of my job is to be a representative for the people here in Israel, voice of the government for their concerns.
This Israeli newspaper even called Jordana Cutler our woman at Facebook. There's also Meta's head of global business group, Nicola Mendelsohn. Her husband was a lobbyist for Israel. Mendelsohn outraged many Meta workers when she posed for a photo at a gala with the executive director of Stop Anti-Semitism. That's an Instagram account which, despite its name, actually doxes and harasses pro-Palestine people. And then there are the faces of the company, CEO Mark Zuckerberg and former longtime COO Sheryl Sandberg. Following October 7th, Zuckerberg reportedly donated $125,000 to Zaka, the Israeli search and rescue organization responsible for perpetuating the beheaded babies lie. Sheryl Sandberg has spread her share of anti-Palestinian propaganda too. Sandberg, who was on the board of Meta until earlier this year, recently fronted a documentary claiming there was a mass campaign of sexual assault on Israeli women on October 7th, 2023. It's a claim that continues to have little evidence behind it, but it has been used to justify Israel's non-stop attacks on Gaza.
Someone who's so significant to the company, that influence is obviously going to be spread throughout the entire company, in the people that are hired, in the people that are in senior positions. So this is like built into what Meta is.
And Paul says all that might explain why the company's policies are so pro-Israel, like the decision to limit political content on Instagram by default. Meta quietly rolled that out earlier this year.
When the narrative was extremely pro-Israel after October 7th, they allowed politics. And then a couple of months later, when the narrative had shifted and people could see the horrors of the genocide, then they decided that politics was no longer allowed on Meta, and they implemented that for everyone across the world by default.
And then there was a decision to expand the company's hate speech policy to include posts that target Zionists, something that critics say could stifle critiques of the Israeli government. And that's not all. Meta even agrees to take down content when Israel asks it to. Since 2015, the Israeli government has run an agency called the Israeli Cyber Unit. It petitions social media companies around the world to remove content it says incites violence. In a 5-week span after October 7th, that agency sent 9,500 takedown requests to social media platforms. These companies complied and took down the content 94% of the time. The majority of these requests went to Meta. Critics say these removals target Palestinian activists.
I think when we look back in 20 years at how the genocide happened and how complicit big tech was, all of us are going to wonder how we didn't do more.
If you want to learn more, check out our full documentary on AJ Plus's YouTube channel.